Imagine doing some simple renovations on your house. You are down in your basement, you swing a sledgehammer into a strange, uneven wall, and the stone gives way to a dark, echoing void. You find an ancient, hand-carved stone tunnel that plunges straight into the earth. This scenario actually happened to a local man in 1963 in the region of Cappadocia in central Turkey. The surface landscape here is dominated by tall, cone-shaped rock formations known as fairy chimneys. The ground in this region is composed of a volcanic ash called tuff. It is soft enough to carve with basic hand tools, but once that exposed rock meets the air, it calcifies and hardens into a structural shell. This single basement breach revealed a hidden complex of a scale that redefined the archaeological history of the region. As archaeologists explored the tunnels, they mapped a massive labyrinth. Derinkuyu descends 280 feet down across 18 distinct levels. The city was built to hold 20,000 people, along with their livestock, completely hidden from the outside world. They carved communal kitchens, wineries and oil presses, and chapels on the lowest floors. Constructing a fully functioning, self-sustaining metropolis entirely in the dark required an immense amount of coordinated labor and architectural precision. Building a city like this requires utter desperation. It forces the question, what force on the surface was so relentless that an entire society felt compelled to bury themselves alive? Packing 20,000 breathing humans and animals into a sealed underground cavern creates an immediate crisis. Within days, carbon dioxide levels would rise, and every person inside would suffocate. They excavated over 50 massive vertical ventilation shafts, acting like giant subterranean chimneys, drawing fresh air down. These connected to secondary pipes, continuously pushing oxygen outward. The airflow was perfectly balanced, keeping even the bottom floors entirely breathable. This suggests that Derinkuyu was designed for more than just a temporary panic room. This permanent airflow system indicates that the inhabitants were preparing for uninterrupted underground sieges lasting months at a time. The next vulnerability during a long-term siege is the water supply. An invading army will search for surface wells and drop dead animals inside to poison the water. This diagram shows how they bypassed biological warfare. They dug subterranean wells, tapping directly into fast-flowing underground rivers. They intentionally stopped digging before reaching the surface layer. The wells were completely blind from above, making them inaccessible to attackers. If an invading army somehow found a tunnel entrance, they were met with massive circular stone doors weighing up to 1,000 pounds. The tunnels were carved to create a natural locking groove. Using this mechanical advantage, defenders could easily roll the stones into place from the inside, but enemies could not pry them open from the exterior. Each door features a central hole. Once the passageway was sealed, defenders could safely shoot arrows or pour boiling oil directly onto trapped invaders. These systems were built to withstand an enemy capable of poisoning wells and aggressive enough to face 1,000-pound barricades. To find who drove these people underground, we have to look back at the military history of the surface world. Archaeologists believe the earliest levels of the city were likely carved by the Phrygians in the 8th century BC, allowing them to survive waves of early regional warfare. Centuries later, early Byzantine-era Christians expanded the tunnels. They carved out deep religious chapels and complex living quarters to hide from religious persecution and the organized invasions of Arab and Mongolian armies. Derinkuyu was a multi-generational survival asset, utilized whenever the surface world became too dangerous to inhabit. When warning signals went out across the region, entire societies would drop whatever they were doing, gather their families and livestock, and vanish into the earth. They waited in claustrophobic, flickering torchlight, sometimes for months, listening to the muffled boots of massive armies marching directly over their heads. It is difficult to imagine the psychological toll of living in the dark, never knowing if those heavy stone doors would ever roll back to let the sun in. Derinkuyu stands as a physical monument to human endurance. When the surface of the world was lost, humanity simply carved a new world out of the dark.
Like, share, and comment. Subscribe.